Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we have news from CA, something that I wasn't really expecting myself. We've got race updates, stuff to the vampire counts, the Lizardmen, the Dark Elves, and even a pretty sizable rework to Norska, which I think is really impressive, as obviously we expected some changes coming into effect to be able to just bring these races a little bit more in line with Warhammer 3 until they need another rework, you know, usually when a DLC comes alongside them where they can get a complete overhaul. I think this is really cool, and it's important to note, even CA do know that some of the races will need some more help in the future, but right now it's just to bring everything in line, and I think that's great. I think that's an awesome effort. So we're going to jump in, we're going to talk about each of the updates, and yeah, let's have some fun. So the first faction are that of the Vampire Council. Let's talk about it. Everyone's favorite bloodsuckers were in a difficult place coming out of Warhammer 2, mainly relying on a devastating two-punch combo of 3 skeleton armies and the evisceration of their enemy with winds of death. While it was a real power trip at times, it did eventually get a bit dry, bone dry you might say. Oh god. On top of that, changes to systems like the Winds of Magic in Warhammer 3 have a heavy impact on the race, so the team spent time enhancing them in ways that help them stay fresh as an exhumed corpse can be at least. So the headline, 3 skeletons are gone. Ooh god, what? Let's continue. You still have ways to make them grave dirt cheap, but not to the same extent as before. We know this is a big change, one that might even disappoint some people, but it not only distorted the Vampire Count's gameplay too much, but made much of the roster obsolete. Yeah, that's kind of true. Partly in conjunction with the reduced supply line penalties in Warhammer 3. Okay, yeah, fair point. Let's see how they're going to do this to fix it up. To make up for the loss, we've made a whole host of other changes that we hope will more than make amends for it. Here's a look at some of the key changes, so it's not all of it, it's just some. Alright, across the board balance changes to the roster. Leadership increases to most units. Kinda needed, yeah, so okay. Adjustments to the ethereal units, and the ability to recruit Mongols in a campaign if you own the Vampire Coast DLC. I'm a big fan of this. When they told us about that they were considering this, I was like, oh yeah, this is a good idea, because obviously the Mongols were originally for the Vampire counts back in the tabletop, and the idea of having some cross-relevance through DLC and all that type of stuff is actually kind of cool. I kind of like that. So yeah, not too bad. Improvements to raised Deadpools, which now offer better units by default and scale up with vampiric corruption, making them less reliant on battle sites. Okay, I like that. I like that idea a lot. That's not too bad. Hopefully it works as intended, and yeah, again, can't complain. Reshuffle of recruitment buildings, with many units now available earlier and more easily. Okay, that's not too bad. Yeah, they want people to use more monsters and more stuff, and, well, you know, most cases we were just on skeletons and zombie stacks, so this should be quite fun. I do hope that Gore still gets them, like, next to 3 at least. And revamp tech trees, skill trees, and bloodline effects to give the race access to powerful new effects, such as increased healing caps and extra winds of magic. Alright, yeah. This is looking cool. Pretty good rework all around. It's kind of like one of those minor reworks that we had with, like, say, for example, the Dwarfs when Forek came out. So, yeah, not too bad. This actually seems, yeah, fun. As for individual lords, we've already highlighted some of the changes coming to the undead power couple, Vlad and Isabella von Karstein, in our dedicated factions blog, but don't worry, Manfred and the Necromancer lords will have their time in the Sun Moon too. Okay, so Manfred von Karstein has been moved to the Southlands, we already know this, where he seeks the unholy books of Nagash. Okay, so he's going to have a very similar mechanic. Well, he's going to have the same mechanic as, say, Volkmar and the Tomb Kings, but that's okay, that's not too bad. As the most magically gifted of the Vampire Lords, he also received an increased magic reserves. Okay, that's not bad. And his Master of the Black Arts ability now boosts his spell mastery by 25%. Again, yeah, I'm happy about that. Now let's move on to Ghost. To complement his new starting position in the Haunting Forest, Helmengorst now starts the campaign mounted on his corpse cart. Great! And can acquire skills that enhance his aura abilities, granting powerful faction-wide buffs to zombies. Okay, very happy about that. If you want to drown the world in rotting flesh while watching from the back of your sweet ride, he's the legendary lord for you. Okay, I'm actually quite keen for that. I'm kind of curious about how Gorst is going to play, especially since Nurgle is so close. But yeah, okay. And then finally, not to be outdone by this young upstart, Kemmler has also upped his game. His best bud Krell will now be a permanent summoner by default. Great! Awesome! While Kemmler's skill tree serves to supercharge Krell's combat stats. Oh, okay, yeah, this is looking quite good. I'm quite happy about this. Minor changes here and there. We don't have all the information just yet, but either way, very, very content. This all sounds really fun. I like the vampire counts, so yeah, looking forward to starting a new campaign. Alright, now we've got the Lizardmen. We know that Lizardmen and update together might generate some excitement, so we'll get the bad news out of the way first. Okay, so it's not a full update, it's just some minor stuff, but then again, we kind of expected this. The geomantic web is still pretty much the same, other than a few adjustments to reward you for fulfilling the great plan. Okay, hopefully they're good. They don't give us the details though. We fully recognize that it's right for a more substantial update and hope to find an opportunity to do so in the future. That's great. They already know, look, yeah, they need an update. We'll get down to it. That's good. So with that said, there's still a load of other changes coming to our scaly friends. We'll start with the humble skinks. As has been long requested, Tehenowin now unlocks Regiment of Renown units by leveling up. Great, thank you, that's awesome. And we'll be able to use his sacrificial pyramid to generate extra blessed spawning units. Okay. His chameleonic comrade Oxyotl will be receiving new missions to hunt down and eliminate the new demon enemies who recently arrived on the Immortal Empires map. Awesome. I love that because it's so important. This is such a big lore thing. Let's continue. And his mission durations will now scale with campaign difficulty, making it harder to thwart chaos if you choose to play at the harder levels. Ah, okay. Quite like that. Yeah, it's going to make it more difficult. Yeah, I wonder how that's going to work. Yeah. So a harder campaign will literally be harder, and I'm actually quite happy that CA are listening to people's feedback for that. But now we go to the Sauruses. The Stalwart Saurus will also benefit from changes that help them take on the demonic hordes in battle. Their innate primal instinct ability kicks in earlier, okay, granting them greater bonuses and no longer triggering their rampage. Thank you. Thank you so much. Both Saurus characters also get revamped Lord and faction effects to account for this, in addition to helping them develop their own playstyles. Krokgar will focus on creating a courtier of elite Saurus characters with major buffs for Old Bloods and Scar veterans. Cool, okay. While Gorok will enjoy new effects that lean into his defensive nature. While his unique right no longer makes Saurus unbreakable, it now grants them barrier as well as immunity to hostile weapon effects like poison, a perfect boon for taking on a certain pestilent rodent. I really hope that Clan Pestilence gets an update, because this is going to be quite difficult for Pestilence, I guess. But yeah, okay. Now we move on to the Slann. As the premier magic wielders of the setting, the Slann, including Lord Croak, are getting skill tree tweaks to fit the new magic system in Warhammer 3, while gaining access to powerful effects like Barrier, okay, yeah, makes sense, and increasing the Winds of Magic capacity. On top of that, Mazdamundi will also receive a plus 50% range increase to all his spells. Ooh, okay. Benefiting for a frog of such continent-shifting power. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sounds good. Very happy, very happy. But we do have one more section to check, and this is Nakai. Finally, Nakai will enjoy a variety of balance changes, including tech tree updates to boost his economy, thank you, as well as new and improved benefits upon constructing temples to the old ones. He'll also benefit from some of the fundamental improvements to diplomacy that were introduced in Warhammer 3, notably improving how the AI interacts with vassal factions. I really hope this means that the vassals will be better, because that was the main issue with Nakai. Other than that, the campaign was great, but its brain-dead AI vassal was just what kind of killed everything for the game. Next, we're moving on to the Dark Elves. Not a lot of changes, but some exciting ones, actually. So yeah, next let's turn to the Druchii, who in addition to being in a prime position to benefit from the new sea lanes, that's very true, have seen big changes to their slave mechanic. Previously, this was a feature that resulted in insane late game economic performance with relatively little interaction from the player. As such, in Warhammer 3, slaves are now considered a faction level resource rather than something you stow in a province. Slaves can now be spent at numerous buildings to generate income, or invested into pretty powerful slave dictats to benefit a specific province. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. I'm assuming this is something that we're going to get very similar for the Chaos Dwarfs eventually, but let's continue. For a long while, the Druchii have had a complicated relationship with Chaos, so the influx of demonic factions has led to a few notable changes. Morathi now gets unique interactions with Slaanesh Corruption, thank you, and can now even recruit demonettes. Okay. While Malice Possession ability now allows for more frequent use of Zarkan and interacts differently with the new corruption types. Okay, cool. I have one request if anyone's watching from Creative Assembly. While I do love the idea that Morathi can get demonettes, I would love if we could have the Storm of Chaos eventually, if we get a Dark Elf rework patch. So the Cult of Pleasure from the Storm of Chaos would be fantastic, just to have a completely different sub-faction for the Dark Elves, which would lead to a lot more replayability. I don't know if this is possible, and obviously that it depends on coding and all that, but if it is, just take it into consideration, please. It would just be kind of nice. But let's move on. Last of all, Rakarth can now capture and tame a host of new beasts, including Sabertusk and Feral Bears. Okay, Feral Bear units. That's cool. I'm quite happy, yeah. Rakarth even got an in-depth spotlight in our recent QA with the development team. That's cool. I love the idea. It would be nice if we could see the Feral Bears for Kislev too, because it's a unit that we're kind of expecting. I like Rakarth. I'm a big fan, so I'm really very much looking forward to playing a campaign with him. Morath even more so, but maybe after an update. And lastly, we have Norska. Now, keep in mind that none of these are full reworks, just like minor ones, so they're going to get something a little bit better in the future. But let's talk. So let's talk Cold, Angry, and Primed to Raid. Norska had a somewhat tumultuous entry into the series, yeah, you can say that again, with their unique ability to construct outposts instead of regular settlements, built on the foundation of the climate-locked occupations of Warhammer 1. This design did not make a graceful transition into Warhammer 2, where it was originally designed to grant them unparalleled flexibility. It instead became their greater weakness. Yeah, it was interesting. So if you take one thing home when you're done raiding these shores, it's the fact that Norska is now a regular occupation faction with access to their complete building tree anywhere in the world. Yes! Awesome. This is so good. While that is a big one, there are additional smaller changes coming to freshen up the race. Okay, so devotion to the gods. Like before, players can dedicate the ruins of their enemies to one of the 4 dark gods in order to gain their favor, but there will always be a massive disparity in the rewards given. As such, we've even things out a little. Okay. Full dedication to the crow no longer causes a admittedly mostly impotent global plague. Rather, you will be joined by Burblesmirk Spewpit, the exalted great unclean one. Oh, okay. Nice. So you're going to be able to get some sort of demons and all that. That's cool. Full dedication to the hound no longer gives you access to the Iceforge Legion. Oh, okay. Rather, you will be joined by Kilgore Slaymane, what a name, an exalted hero of Khorne. Hopefully he's quite strong, because if he's got a name and all that type of stuff, he definitely should have some unique things to him. All rewarded characters grant their army an incredible powerful boon that twists their battle profile to align closer to the Dark God's ideal forces. For example, Azric's forces may enjoy access to the barriers, magical weapons, and global winds of magic generation benefits. Okay, yeah, this is sounding pretty good. This is sounding really, really good. And if you just had the terrifying realization that we didn't say where the Iceforge Legion went, don't worry. Your favorite Hell Cannon battery has become a regular Regiment of Renown unit that unlocks once you reach the appropriate level. Okay, great. I'm happy about that. This is really, really good. Overall, this is interesting. I can't wait to see how Norska now plays, considering that, yeah, they still need a bit of a rework, but this is getting a few changes in. Now, commandments. Being fully settled and capable of holding complete provinces all over the world, Norska has a full set of commandments to enact over them and solidify their new holdings. Unfortunately, they didn't say what they are, but okay, that's still good news. Resources, wine, furs, and everything in between. Norska can now construct buildings to exploit almost all resources for a local or global bonus. Awesome, very happy about that. And finally, capital targets. With new forces of order come new cities to raise for unique benefits. The Kurgan hordes have never taken Wei Jin, but perhaps they only lacked a unifying Iron Fist. Okay, cool, so we're going to get some awesome areas to be able to take over and get benefits. This is something that was there in Norska from the beginning, so I'm excited if Wei Jin has something cool. It definitely gives you reason to go up to Cathay at the very least. So yeah, that's not too bad, and yeah, I'm quite happy. So we have a little bit of more information here. It's just some basic stuff, so it's to tie us off. Let's head off with the question to everyone's mind. No, this is not the Norska rework. These changes are about freeing Norska from the shackles of their outpost and giving them a taste of fresh new powers of the Dark Gods in Warhammer 3. Like the rest of the Immortal Empires, this is just the beginning, the foundation upon which to build and make future tweaks to different factions. I think this is great. I think this is awesome, and obviously there's more news to come, and we know the date of the release, but I think that them doing this is a way to tide good favor, because Norska was not in a good place. It was the second worst DLC next to the Warriors of Chaos, so the fact that they're getting a nice little just freshen up before a big rework, yeah, I'm happy. Hopefully Norska will get a big DLC and a rework in the future. Well, we know it's coming, it's just a matter of time, but yeah, overall, well done to Creative Assembly. They're really going full ham on this, and I think that this is going to be a good thing. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion. I might be a tad slow replying. I should be home by the time that this video goes live, but I might be a bit late because I'm going to the dentist, just to let you guys know. I'm not ignoring you.